We had car raffles, bake sale, the wives, knock on doors.
I remember my wife and I collecting $2 bills from Upper Warfield. That was our route, and knocking on doors. And there wasn't a door that didn't give $2 or more. So, and the major part of the funding came from the community itself and the communities, Roslyn, Warfield, Trail, Fruitvale, Montrose.
Reluctantly, the CAHA then offered the trip up to the Smoke Eaters. The Canadian Hockey Association, as well as the Eastern Sports Writers, made no attempt to conceal their feelings about the club.
They should probably be rated the 5th or 6th team in Canada rather than the 1st. And that's not going to get any cheers in Trail, and I don't mean to hurt anybody's feelings, but what's the use of us sending second and third-rate teams over there, no matter how earnest and how willing they are, and then bemoaning the fact that they were defeated? We should either send good teams or none.
Despite the negativity from the Eastern Canadian sports writers and the lack of support from the CAHA, the Trail Smoke Eaters would be determined to bring home the World Cup. And on January 26, 1961, the Trail Smoke Eaters were on their way to show what Trail was made of.
When we went to Europe, I think some of the memory games were in Sweden. Of course, we had some real royal battles with those guys. A couple good body checks, and they laid a couple players out, and then they started throwing oranges and snowballs and everything else at us. And then we went into Moscow, which was different. You know, they treated us very, very well. I know I got a slight injury and I got medical treatment that was second to none over there. So there weren't, we had a couple games, like one in Germany. We played in an outdoor rink and the crowd was standing on the bank. Those kind of things. We went to practice in Finland. It was about, I'd say probably minus 25, and there were about 5,000 people standing watching a practice. A lot of those places, they didn't sit, they stood. Even in Stockholm, in their big arena, they didn't sit, they stood. So you'd get in Stockholm 18,000 people standing and all yelling at you in Swedish. It's kind of frightening at times.
In all the exhibition games about Sweden, and they did have a picture of Fletcher, number 3, Angel Wings, and he was sort of a sissy up until that time. He was supposed to be our tough guy. But the next game, he was our tough guy, him and Darryl Sly. Darryl Sly, they called him a Chicago gangster. And in that particular game, I think they promptly embarrassed the Swedish national hockey team, who they were one of the favorites.
You had to love the game to go through some of the things that we went through. I mean, it was, just an example, right at the end, our last exhibition game in Italy, we had to be in Switzerland to open up the World Championship on March the 3rd. The only way we could get out of Cortina in Italy is by taking a bus, going through the Brenner Pass into Innsbruck in Austria, catching a train at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and that train would take us into Switzerland to be there in time to start the World Championship. We did it, but the thing is, the game wasn't even over, and half the guys were in the dressing room changing, getting their stuff packed. We had 5 guys left on the ice, and that was it.
Second period, we decided we had to catch a bus as soon as possible afterwards. So in the third period, people started disappearing into the dressing room. We played the last 5 or 6 minutes with only 4 of us on the ice. And then we made a beeline for the dressing room. And the fans just literally, they almost tore the stadium down. But we had to run to catch a bus.
The bus ride, it was quite an experience. So we get into Switzerland. The Russian national team, the Swedes, all those other teams had been there for a week or more ahead of time, training in Switzerland, living in their hotels. We got in there a day and a half. I think we had 1 practice before the World Championship started. So you had to love the game. I mean, it was just the experience and the joy of being there.
Strike him off the base, Jones goes in, he shoots, he scores! That goal by Harold Johns makes it 3-0, and that's the goal the Trail Smoke Eaters need to win the championship on... Having trouble getting this puck drop. There goes that Trail center ice. The puck is taken by Soligubov. Soligubov trying to flip it ahead out of the stick of Al McLeod. Couldn't do it. Right to McLeod. He's right. McLeod says, you scored! Jackie McLeod scores his second goal of the game, and the pass comes from Jones. Jones took that pass by Soligubov that he had intended for Al McLeod. 9 minutes to play in this final game of the World Hockey Championship. From the face-off, moving right in with that puck, going there, right, scored! From the face-off, Starchinov threw the puck to Boris Mayarov. He got in on the side of the goal, and the Smokies had a defensive lapse. There was nobody near him. In the corner, locked Evan Smith battled for that puck, and Smith gets it out to center ice. Starting inside the Soviet zone is Tregubov, being followed by Lenardin. Passing by the Soligubov, Lenardin, and shooting score!
I saw it going. In fact, I think I was crying. I'll tell you the emotion and so on. It's incredible. I can imagine these NHLers in the playoffs. I mean, you know. But I gotta tell you what a feeling.
The crowd is breaking out of the barriers. I don't know if I'll get downstairs. The back of the Smokies 10. Back over the Blukin for Mayarov. Into the corner. Behind the Canadian net. 5 seconds to play. There's the game.
On the final whistle, and I had the stick, and I threw it as high as I could. And I just saw the picture that Daryl had about that. And I wished I had kept that stick.
Canada wins the 1961 World Hockey Championship.
Bobby Crom had those players in shape. Great conditioning program. And I think what we learned then from the 61 Smokies was that hard work would pay off in the end. Because here they were, a group of blue-collar workers who would work hard during the day. Bobby Crom would work them hard at night, and they went to the top of the hockey world because of their dedication, hard work, and teamwork. They would pass that puck like I've never seen before.
For me personally, it was a great honor and a privilege. It was a tough team to coach, but I tell you, if you be analytical about that team, we had a great hockey team with a great chemistry. Right from Seth and goal to our 5 defensemen to all our forwards. As Donnie said, there wasn't many great stars in there. Some of them become household names. But that was a great hockey team. And even today I was thinking, flying on the airplane coming here from Detroit and saying, what a great team that really was. You don't realize it at the moment, but when you go over, what a great team that was. And even though I had my difficult times, it was an honor and a privilege to me be able to be part of it.
For the second time in less than 3 decades, the Trail Smoke Eaters would return from the World Championships victorious. It would prove to be the pinnacle of Trail's hockey history and the foundation that would nurture the home of champion spirit in the community.
And even Casper, people were lined all along the highway, coming through Janelle, tooting their horns, and then we arrived at Kamenko. They put us on the fire trucks, you know, and come down. Well, they figured there was, 25,000 downtown. Where the hell did they come from? So it wasn't only Trail, you know, other people got pretty excited. Oh, it was just great.
As a teenager in 1939, Alan Alzurpal Tognati formed the Smoke Eaters Underwear Band to welcome the world champions home from Europe. Dressed in long johns and Smoke Eater sweaters, the band became a fixture at home games for the next 4 decades and often accompanied the team on the road. Alan Alzurpal Tognati can respectfully be called the Trail Smoke Eaters' greatest fan.
kids, we would come to the game, and the crowds would be fantastic. There'd be so much excitement. The players were so skilled. I grew up with the Smoke Eaters. My dad played for the team. My uncle Adolf Tambellini played for the team. And so I grew up in that room, and I'm just thrilled to still be part of the franchise. Obviously, it's the junior part of it now, but still being involved in the team is pretty exciting for myself.
The following season, after the '61 World Cup victory, the Trail Smoke Eaters would easily go on to win the Savage Cup. But more importantly, Bobby Crum's prediction of winning the Allen Cup would finally come true. With the Allen Cup in hand, the Smoke Eaters were on their way to another World Championship in Stockholm in 1963. But unlike the '61 glory days, the Smoke Eaters would fall short of World Championship success. One of the highlights during the 1960s was an exhibition game between the Spokane Comets and the Montreal Canadiens. Two things made it a memorable night for the locals. Montreal started Trail native Cesar Maniego in goal, and with only 5 minutes into the game, Canadian star Jean Beliveau was carried off the ice on a stretcher with torn ligaments. Although the 1970s marked the decline of senior hockey in Trail, the community was still producing top-notch players.
Well, I think it happened through a change in time, and time indicated that there were more things to do at home in terms of television and pay-per-views and videos, and there was more entertainment at home in the comfort of their home, so people didn't have to leave, where at one time the hockey game with the Trail Smoke Eaters was the #1 and the only thing to do in town. And so times changed, and not only in Trail, but throughout the league, and that came evident as the years went on, and by 1987 it was the demise of the entire league.
Then junior hockey really took off in this community. The teams in the KIJHL were quite competitive. Kimberleys and the Crownbrooks and Nelsons, and it started to take off. And it was always about the Smoke Eaters, and it was a great legacy when I grew up, and it was a good influence on myself.
You got to look like even the KIJHL, that junior league, how many guys they putting in, and it's not BCHL. I mean, you got Horkoff, you got Ferrero, you name it. You got Deadmarsh, you got Jackman, they were all in the KIJ. You got Green, you got Dallas Drake from Roslyn. You know, and they were the best hockey players in this league, and they weren't outsiders. And I stem that with the coaching we get and the people who volunteer. I'm sure they do it everywhere, but I think in Trail it was synonymous or just incredible.
It's an honor to be from this community, it really is. It's an honor to be able to say that I played for the Smoke Eaters.
I don't think you can say Trail without saying Smoke Eaters. I think it's world renowned. I think we did it with homegrown boys for the most part.
You know, the one thing that I always keep saying is that there are so many volunteers in those days. I go back and think about it and say, gee, you know, these guys, they would wake up early in the morning and stay late at night, and just willing to help all the kids that were growing up in Trail, that were involved in sports. And those are the people that you appreciate later on in life. They're the ones that gave you the stepping stone to wherever you got.
Trail's glory days of hockey may have passed,